Good morning, everybody. Good day, good day. Today is September 12th. We got about another minute before we are scheduled to start. I'll allow another minute for people to join, but we are going to get going here in just a second. Hope everybody's having a good day so far. As I mentioned, today is September 12th, and we're going to be discussing 10 ways to implement ChatGPT into the workplace. Something I've been very passionate about recently and working with a few different companies. And as I work with new companies, this is not a way for folks to understand how to actually implement it into their workplace. So we're going to cover a bunch of different things today, some top level as well as get down to the nitty gritty. Won't be a demonstration, but it will be an explanation of different tools and ways to use ChatGPT. So allow a couple more minutes for people to show up. You're welcome, Jeff. Thank you for being here. I appreciate everybody being here and those of you who have shared it with others. Jeff, I hope that you were able to take some of what we did on Saturday and been able to apply that and have some good things going for you. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you've done with that and seeing what we can do to continue that on. It's now 11 o'clock. I'll allow a few more seconds for folks to show up before I get started. But once again, today we're going to be showing 10 ways to implement ChatGPT into the workplace, like how you can get started right now. Before we go into it, there's been a lot of new releases in AI, not just ChatGPT, but there's been Bard as released, some advancements in theirs. Now with Microsoft and Bing, they've introduced a Bing Enterprise, so you can do things on the Bing website, which is actually pretty good because they're allowing all the data to be secured right there, which is very new. Most things have been kind of open, and so shout outs to those guys for doing that. Claude just released their enterprise version of AI, and we'll do another session where we'll discuss the differences. I just made a post about that over the weekend, so if you want to check my profile, you guys can read that. But right now it's 11:01, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into it and not waste any more of your time. Thank you, Annie, for being here. I know as you are just getting into cybersecurity, not just getting into, but as you're launching your new business for cybersecurity, it's important to kind of understand this. And there are tremendous cybersecurity ways to implement ChatGPT or other AI tools. So that's another great conversation we'll have. But right now, let's go ahead and get into this today without any further ado. So as I mentioned, today we're going to be discussing 10 ways to implement ChatGPT into the workplace. And there's so many. We're going to start off at the top level and then go from there. But you'll see that it's very informative. So my name is Michael Bowers. I have been working with AI and ChatGPT since January of this year when it was first introduced to me. I've done a lot with it. I've been very excited about it. I've been up to my neck and everything going on with it. And I currently have a couple clients that we are working with to implement ChatGPT into their environments. We have the CFO, the CEO of one of our clients, Green Fruit Avocados. We're currently in the implementation process with those guys and getting it going for them. So doing training and specific tools. Again, we're going to go over policies, training, how to integrate it, and kind of understand, how to even know if it's working or not. And we'll discuss those kind of things. So again, we'll be laying the groundwork, setting some objectives and needs. Choosing the right tools is going to be really important because there's no one way, and there's lots of ways to do it. Learning how to make it work. This is really important because there's no one way to do everything. And because everything is happening so fast and so many advancements and such new technologies, like literally every day, not an exaggeration, every day there's like at least 5 to 10 new things. And about once a month, we get a new major release from somebody. So staying on top of that and then revisiting what you're working on is super important. So measure what you're doing and then adapt. Because adapting to using the tools is only to your benefit. And then the collaborating for future support. The thing about you got to have someone who understands the technology, who can kind of take it to the next level, is already thinking that way. If you don't have that person in house, and that's a tough challenge right now, as folks are looking to bring people with any kind of an AI or chat GPT experience in house, but everything is happening so fast, those folks are getting grabbed up constantly. So it's really hard to do. So go ahead and jump right into implementing ChatGPT into the workplace and how you can actually get started today. So the first thing you want to do is get with your corporate team and start at the top and really set some clear objectives. The thing about with AI is and ChatGPT is that because it can do so much, you really got to start at the top so that when the culture is introduced to the solutions, everyone knows that this is what we're doing and it's what we're doing. So having these meetings and getting everyone on the same page is really important. So one of the things I like to talk about are the biggest pain points. And when I first approach anything, when I want to consider, even especially as I'm working on stuff, the pain points are things like, why are we, how do we understand this? Why does this thing keep happening? How do we get past this point? And the ability to process thoughts and get solutions and work through things that would otherwise limit you or your staff is one of the key things that ChatGPT can do. So, for instance, one of our clients, they have a lot of employees who are either English as their second language or they're having to deal with people in Spanish because they're international business. And so having to understand and deal with all these different people new every time is important. So understand from the top down when you can say, all right, you know what, in sales, we're going to implement ChatGPT so they can communicate with this particular client. Or it could be a particular vendor that you have to deal with. Another thing you can do is like looking at bottlenecks in your business. And what a bottleneck for this might be is, say, another client, the sales team is constantly having to look at different sources to get the information to then make a decision on what to do moving forward. So from a top level down, you're like, this process is taking these guys, let's just say, a half an hour before they can do one thing, send an email or respond. And so when you can find ways to incorporate that data and bring it all into one place, so ChatGPT with custom chatbots allows you to kind of consolidate that data and look at it in one place. Very, very important, and something that we can go over later in detail, but just incorporating when you have this data, what do we do with it and how do we make something out of it? ChatGPT can look into those things. Again, we're not going to go into the details of that, but we can discuss later. Another one is tasks that you're just doing over and over and over again. And for one client, we're going to be implementing a CRM, which is going to do a lot of that automation for them, but we're going to be using ChatGPT to build out that CRM. So the issue is engaging with customers, specifically collections and getting paid. And so to have something that creates automation for them is important. So even though we're going to introduce a CRM into that environment, we're using ChatGPT to build it out and have the tone match the company's tone. Another one is what areas of the business can see the most immediate ROI from integration. And so things like messaging and content, revisiting your business's content. We're going to get into these things in more detail later. But when you're sitting down and you're saying, okay, you guys, how can we make this work? What are we going to do with ChatGPT? It starts with management, looking at these different areas, not the specifics, but looking at these different areas of congestion. Where can we get more out of our data? Where can we be more efficient? That would be the first steps. Before you start going right into it, looking into what can we do to be more efficient and be better. The next one is deciding on the right tools. Now, this is really important because it's not just ChatGPT out there. There's a ton of tools that are being created. One of the ones that I've been using very recently was called Taplio, and it accesses ChatGPT, but allows me to engage and write specific content on LinkedIn. And we're all here on LinkedIn, so you may have seen an ad for it. I suggest checking it out. But It does little things like if someone has already made a post, you can then go through and comment on that. And so if you have salespeople or customer service to equip certain people within your organization with that kind of a tool, so now they can engage on the company's behalf. Now the company is engaging, and either whether your customers like it or your vendors like it, they like to see you. They see you're out there, especially if you have salespeople and their customers are posting something, to be able to have the salesperson be able to quickly go through, oh, this is fantastic, either add value to the post or to congratulate them. It keeps your salespeople on your vendors or customers' radar. So that's just one of the ways with trying to find out the right tools. Another one is understanding, when you're looking at tools, security. So up until recently, there weren't enterprise versions of the application. So you would have to build out your own chatbot, which takes a bit of programming, but you can build your own chatbot so you can have it in company and no one else has access to it, because by default, all of the different chatbots, your information is not immediately being shared, but they are able to include it in what they reference for responding to a future request. And if you're putting intellectual property, any kind of a business secrets in there, things that you don't want anybody else to know about, especially if it's about conflict or a new product or anything like that, or your marketing campaigns. Up until now, they would be in a basically public, not accessible, but exposed environment. And so creating your own chatbot in-house or taking on one of the new one of the new ChatGPT or Claude or Bard Enterprise, they all come with borders around so that your data is not getting out. Again, you're talking projections for next year. You don't want that going out, or losses, anything. You don't want any uncontrolled information getting out. So not just getting right in there and just putting all of your content on there and saying, all right, tell me more about this. You don't want to do that by default. So that just understanding that and selecting the right tools is really key. And we're going to get into that a little in our next step when we talk about policies and procedures. But also another thing is the volume of interactions. Who's going to be using it? How often they're going to be using it? Because that's when you want to make sure you get like a ChatGPT, the Pro version, the Plus version, I think is what it's called specifically, which allows for 50 interactions within an hour before it makes you wait for longer. So understanding those kinds of limitations when you have your team using them, just knowing they can only get so much done in a day, or when they know how to use it, they can use it more efficiently. Because whenever I approach that limit, it's usually because I'm really dialoguing with the chatbot. I'm getting a lot of information. I'm diving deep into, hey, Mike, how's it going? I'm diving deep into different topics. And so that's when I'll start to reach that limit. So having your employees know that is a limit, or even just knowing that if you're using ChatGPT on the website versus building your own chatbot, there are different limitations. And then with the new chatbot and the ChatGPT Enterprise, you'll no longer be limited by those limitations about the amount of requests you can make within a certain amount of time. So understanding that and then implementing it properly is really important. So again, selecting the right tools is key. And then also when it comes to analytics and reporting, how you use ChatGPT, you copy the data into it or into a chatbot or to a third-party application, researching the market, knowing what's out there, or having someone who knows so we can identify what can be used for particular pain points that we discussed in step one, can then help make the right decisions. The next one, step three, defining policies and procedures. This is a super important step because as I just spoke about, you can put things into ChatGPT that you don't want anybody else to know. And whether it's intellectual property, it's campaigns, it's anything, you have to train your employees. And one of the first things that we do is we say, hey, listen, everybody must use a company account, not your personal Gmail or whatever you're using, because it uses Microsoft, your own email or a Gmail account. When it comes to company usage, you got to set the policies and procedures in place. Because if you just leave it up to the employees and say, hey, go figure it out, you have no control. they don't understand. And if you have people using like their personal accounts with their work account, it can just become a mess. And so you want to, as you set your policies and procedures, what we do is really just lay out the groundwork for how the staff are going to use it, who's going to use it, how they will use it. And then we'll get into the next thing, which is, the training, but specifically in how they use it is, it could be, are you using this for emails? Are you using this to gain insights? How are you using it is to be set by management with that top level sign off to say, listen, I want you guys to have this and this only, and then maybe a whole other department doesn't even use it yet, especially when you're testing and you're trying to figure it out. You don't want to have everybody all at once, because then how do you control it unless you have the support team to literally support them? So understanding that and knowing defining a policy so that people are not just making their own decisions. That's the last thing you want to do. When we hire people, we hire them for their expertise. But when it comes to implementing tools like this, it can go a variety of different ways. So setting those policies and procedures, giving the folks guidelines, sets you up for success. Then, of course, you got to train your people, because you can say when to use it, when not to use it. But if they don't know how to use it properly, they're not going to get the best out of it. And unfortunately, they may even stop using it. Or if you don't use it the right way, you can actually get bad results that don't matter, not relevant, even not necessarily misleading, because generally for business, we're not looking to get, hey, so, what is a historical fact? We're generally trying to understand our clients, we're trying to understand the conversations, we're trying to understand the needs and putting them together. And so having your employees know how to ask questions. That's one of the key things that we go over in training, is how to phrase a question to get the response that you want. And we're going to go into a little bit later about how to literally set up their ChatGPT for success. But above and beyond that, little things, and I'll give an example of, so when I suggest that people go to AI, and a way to really take advantage of the technology is to put the processing request on AI. So by default, we might come in and say, help me type an email to respond to this person. Well, the way I would approach that is say, okay, I need to communicate, or I need to write an email. What should I say? How should I say? And have it define the tone, the approach. To give you a very specific example, right now I am engaging with a South American hotel chain. And there's obviously a different culture there, right? I'm from the United States. They are based in Colombia. So when I engage with them, aside from the fact that I've taken their profile, their LinkedIn profiles, put them to ChatGPT so that it can understand who I'm talking to, but then also when it comes to how should I approach this particular conversation, friendly, personal, technical, non-technical, maybe even reference something in their background. And so understanding that you can use ChatGPT that way, so that when your staff are looking to how do we engage, again, if I want to find out how to talk to someone who I have not spoken to before, especially if there's any kind of a cultural language difference or even an industry difference, training your employees that they can do that is key. And then how to do it, again, versus just very shallow questions. And so training them how to use it, how to ask the right questions to get the right responses and prompts, which we're going to go into a little bit in the upcoming steps. But training is the first thing. Policies, so let me take that back. Policies are first, and then train them on how to use it. Next, this is probably my favorite section, and that is really getting ChatGPT to work for you and customizing it. So over the recent month, no, it's probably been about 3 or 4 months, but last month they've added this new feature that allows you to set how ChatGPT sees you and how it responds to you. And so what that means is like you can, when you set up your employees' profiles, when you go through, this comes through the policies and procedures where you define how are you going to set that profile up for that employee. So let's just assume they're a sales employee and you are a company that sells remote controls to people who need remote controls. And so what you want to do is in that profile, I am a remote control salesperson for this particular company, and I do these types of things. These are my background. This is my background. These are my specialties. And if there's something specific to the company, like I am here to assist, I am here to guide. When you define those settings about who the employee is, when ChatGPT engages with them, it automatically takes that into account instead of always assuming, hi, how are you today and how can I help you? It's going to always be, oh, hey, you are the salesperson at this company and your job is this. So it's going to always know and reference those facts. The next thing is how a ChatGPT engages. And this is probably the most important one. And if you guys message me, I will send you specific content. And Jeff, I sent this to you over the weekend, specific code that you can put into your how to engage with me setup instructions for ChatGPT. And that is the game changer. Because before, when ChatGPT came out, it was always good, but it wouldn't always continue the conversation or the thought. It required you having to keep it going. And it would, but you'd have to say, all right, well, what should I do next? Or even making sure it understands your objectives. So, you're trying to do something. I want to compose an email to so-and-so. Well, in the past, it would just go ahead and start composing that email, and you can give it your tweaks and your modifications, which is go back to training on how to do it, make a good email. Make a sales email that's going to have compassion, it's going to have empathy. I want you to reference this. You would do those yourself, but you can also set ChatGPT for your employees. You can pre-program their profiles to be very analytical and forward-thinking and keep them going. So the engagement that you can set ChatGPT to do for your employees, very key, very powerful. Again, we can go over that in a separate session. If you want that code, I can send it to you, and it will immediately make ChatGPT like 10 times better. So that's one thing that's really important. And also understanding, how to act in different personas. If you guys have ever used it, we're going to get into that a little bit too, but just to be able to conjure up a different type of a personality with this coda, I would give you guys, you would not have to do that manually, but you can do it manually as well. So once again, understanding how to make ChatGPT be something else and do something else, an important thing to know, which will come through training, but also how you optimize it like right now. So we'll, again, send me a message and I'll send you that code. Then this is a really key step, and it's probably one of the ones that I've actually had the most personal benefit from, and that is learning about things through ChatGPT. And this isn't just like, Andy, speaking from an IT standpoint, Mike as well, I've had to look up how to do a command, like, whether it be a command line code or having to figure out how to reset equipment. I've also, as I'm dealing with the South American hotel chain, I'm like, how do they even process? How do I even engage with them? And so being able to go to ChatGPT and say, you know what, here is something that I don't understand. For example, I was trying to understand the services that the hotel offers because I'm looking to understand. I want to approach the hotel on improving their concierge and guest engagements. And by doing so, empowering their employees, specifically concierge, with how to do trip planning and how to plan a weekend for a family of 6. Okay, so concierge, when people come to the hotel, they may come with their own plans and they say, I want to go figure it out. Or they may say, hey, concierge, where's the restaurant? What can we do this afternoon? And they'll have their standard list of things. So the idea is to say, all right, now you can take this a step further and actually be proactive and even go as far as contacting the guests before they arrive, send them a questionnaire, let them know that you have the service available, get an idea of the kind of things that they want to do. And so ChatGPT can create that questionnaire. It can create the right language depending on where they are in the world. And then when they respond with that questionnaire with the answers, you take those answers, you put them in a ChatGPT. You say, hey, ChatGPT, these are the people. What can we recommend for them? And then have it provide that kind of a content. Another thing is, as I look to understand the hotel's offerings, I went through their website and I was able to copy all of their services that they offer and at the different locations, put that in the ChatGPT. And ChatGPT was immediately saying, okay, well, I understand what you do. We're going to find a way, we're going to find gaps in their services and synergies for how we can work together. By default, I was thinking, okay, this just be a good idea. I should have talked to them about this. But ChatGPT helped me identify the specific synergies and how they can use it and benefit from it right away. And before that moment, I didn't understand. I mean, I knew my experiences with concierge and what I would like, but to take all that they offer and what I'm trying to do and have ChatGPT look at both and say, you know what, maybe you should approach it this way. And I'm getting to this a little bit further, but then to even take that thought and dive deeper. So again, for your employees, if you're dealing with, whether it's sales, if it's customer service, helping them learn complex topics and personalized guidance to get things done. One of the other things is, so you can have a sales manager who has a sales team. Well, if you were to empower that sales manager with different sales techniques and how to manage that person's team effectively, whether it be team building ideas, it could be topics to discuss, it could be specific direction to give to the sales team to manage them, but to have your sales manager being mentored by a very specific type of methodology or approach, like an agile or a Six Sigma. You can have that guide different people in your organization. And again, it can conjure up all of these different types of expertise and to then empower marketing, sales, customer service, content creation, accounting, legal. Another very specific thing was, so one accounting department, they have an issue with collections because they have people who aren't paying, but the staff, their accountants and their money people, they're not really into like collections and asking for money and stuff like that. And so when the CFO explained to me, he was like, yeah, man, I can't get the people, my staff, to get the money from these people who don't pay because they're just not coming up with the right words. I'm like, okay, well, I guess we can have a ChatGPT act as a corporate debt collector and make recommendations on how to get the money out of the customer, adding new policies and procedures for engaging with the customer, putting them on a probation, composing different letters, emails, messages to be threatening, to elevate. Let's take it even a step further by having this act as a collections mentor for the accountant. It will also take into effect what you can like ethically say, any kind of threat you can or cannot do it. It understands the law. It can even set out a plan for taking this person from, let's say, customer from, they may have been 30 days, net 30 days, but they weren't paying. So now through the mentor, the collections mentor, it says, maybe you need to put them on 15 days, send these series of 2 to 3 emails, and implement this policy for them. Like, wow. Where the accountant or the accounting employee was like, I couldn't even, I didn't want to think about that kind of stuff. All I think I should do is ask them for the money and they pay, but they're not. But this providing that leadership, that specifically corporate collections expert and probably a business copyright to write the right emails and mentor the employee through the task. And this can be across the board. It can be the web designer. It can be work preparing for a trade show. Another thing, one of our clients is going to trade shows. I'm like, you can have this act as a trade show expert, input the trade show that you're going to, go to the website, copy some details about it, who's going to be there, and then suggest ideas on how we can draw attention to us and our products when we are one of, say, 25 or offering the same products. How can we stand out? And have it mentor you, and it'll conjure up a corporate marketing expert and all kind of experts. I don't even know all the experts. It always surprises me. So once again, really powerful is the ability to conjure up different types of experts to guide your employees through when their personal skill sets don't necessarily include what is required for the mission. So super powerful and very empowering. And as employees, they look at AI and like, oh, is this thing going to replace me? No, this will only make them stronger, because now it's like Spider-Man, where they're getting like arms coming out of the back, because now these extra arms are able to do extra tasks for them and make them stronger and reach for more and do more. So very, very key, super key. So the last one and this one are similar. In the last slide, it was more about understanding, learning, and how to understand a concept. So it could be saying specifically, especially within compliance, right? So I was talking to one client, and there were some new laws that were released around engaging with employees about COVID-19. And because his role incorporates HR management, he had to understand how to deal with this request legally. And so by being able to take the current law, input that in ChatGPT, this is the law, here's the request from the employee, how do I do this legally? That's the kind of learning that you say, all right, well, the law is this, so these are my constraints, and that's how I work within it. When it comes to the expertise, that's what I was talking about: the sales mentor, the CFO mentor, the HR advisor, the tech support guru, the project management coach. There's learning, and then there's conjuring up expertise. I often go back and forth on the two of them because they kind of play off of each other, even though learning is one thing and mentorship is another. And so when it comes to mentorship, even from, like I say, a CFO or CEO mentor, it could be, hey, this is my company, and I want to find a way to motivate my employees without being too aggressive, but at the same time, I want to get them to adopt a Six Sigma way of doing business. So how can I do that? And so one of the ways to literally engage is say, hey, this is who I am. This is what I want to do. When you say, how would you do it? Walk me through the process. It will give you recommendations. You say, you know what? I like the idea of doing, a company retreat. Tell me more about company retreats, where and what makes them good. Okay, well, company retreats are great for team bonding, communication, getting corporate messaging across. And so now the CEO can be like, I hadn't thought about that. I thought just buying pizza would have been enough. Maybe I'll consider this. Okay, so how do I go about doing that? What do I consider? This is that mentorship that, again, whether it be the CEO, it could be the salesperson, it could be anybody in the organization, it could be a marketing person, it could be anyone. I said, even in HR, when you have someone who's wearing many hats within an organization, and you put this new one that they haven't done in the past, they're like, yeah, I can kind of do it. But when you can say, hey, listen, again, HR advisor is like, all right, so we have a potential conflict where this person said something to somebody else. And you realize that you don't already have a policy in place, but you got to address it because the person complained to you. So now you can go into ChatGPT and say, I am the HR manager for my organization. And although we don't have a policy in place, this particular person says something inappropriate to this person. This person's come to me and complained. And now I need to resolve this issue. What should I do? And allow ChatGPT to walk that person through the process. The first thing you need to do, acknowledge, document according to the law in your particular state. It could be a different state. So one client, the same client, based in California, but they got employees in Atlanta and Texas. So the law in that state might be different. But because you've taken them on, you're like, I got, 10 employees down there. I got to manage them. Well, I don't know the laws down there. So ChatGPT, first of all, if the law hasn't changed since 2021, it's going to already have access to it. And so it can guide you within the confines of the law so you don't get in trouble. Second, if the law changes, you can then say, hey, there's this long PDF, put that into ChatGPT, say, can you reference this? And then tell me how, or show me, or give me, instruct me, guide me on how to deal with the situation. So again, that on-demand expertise and being able to conjure, even like a tech support guru. Like I was saying, Mike, Andy, so even though I do AI consulting, as many of you may already know, we do cyber risk and IT management for our clients. And there's been a few times when something will come up, and I'm like, how did you do this again? And as we all have done, you go to Google. Google, how do you do this? But the problem is that Google will be like, oh, well, here's about 35 different blogs and some websites that want to charge you. Like, man, I just want the answer. ChatGPT has been unbelievable. I'll say, you know what? I have this device. I want to make it do something else. I had this very specific issue where we had a NAS device near area storage for the server environment. And it was being used in one way, but now we needed to use it as an iSCSI device. I knew it could be, but I had never worked with this specific piece of hardware. So in the past, it'd be like, well, first of all, and this is really key, because when you have staff who only rely on what they know, if they don't know it, they don't know how to do what needs to be done, they might not do it. So if it doesn't get done, the problem can grow. And they may not even tell you that they don't know how to do it. Second, if they may say, I don't know how to do it, and they go do a Google search and can't find the answer, they're like, I'm out of here. Third, they could spend all day on a task. I've had this happen. Technician, like, why are you still there? I'm trying to look up this issue. It's been like 2 hours. Should be a 5-minute search. And so tech support, and I'm talking like command lines, Cisco, Windows, Linux, all of these different things, it can be the instant guru. And so if you have your tech team and all of a sudden they have to engage with a new technology because you're either taking on something new or you have something old or you just want to test something. Most people aren't Unix programmers, but you might have to know a little bit of Unix to find out if this thing can engage with your solution and if you want to adopt it. Well, you might have had to pay the company to come out and say, can someone come out and tell us if this will work? Or you have to hire a consultant to come in. Now you can empower your tech staff to be able to look up things. And then there's no fluff with ChatGPT. It will give you the instructions. It will help you understand what it can do, what it can't do, and then give you this. It will even give you the code to do stuff, which is really, because we're going to get into a step later on about being a workhorse, but when you're trying to work with different hardware, and you might have to put a bunch of command line codes. I personally don't like coding. I don't like having to type a whole lot. And so when I've had to go through and get lines of code to make something do something and be able to copy and paste it and have it go that way, oh my goodness. So between time savings, getting more things done, unbelievable. So the ability to bring on expertise is man, especially when you're talking IT or anything. If anybody's like, you know what, I'm not going to do that because I don't know how to do it. So all of a sudden it doesn't get done, or it takes forever to get done, or it gets done poorly. Now you can you can empower your employees to have an expert who can help you get things right. And that goes in next to like the communications with ChatGPT, as I was just talking about, when you want to communicate, whether it be internally or externally. This is something I think is important for almost every business, because whether you have a website, you have people who send emails, any automation, any kind of, it could be a public, it could be a press release, it can be preparing for trade shows. When you want to communicate and generate content outside of your organization, it's one of those moments when you got to like potentially hire different people to come in and do it, because you're like, we don't do that in house. We are, we're a doctor's office. We don't build websites. We don't do that, but we want to offer new services. And we want to market our new services. Matter of fact, I have one client, they're a neurologist, but they use Botox for a variety of things. I don't get too deep into it with them, but it's not the cosmetic approach. It's more of a addressing headaches and things like that. And so as they want to add this to the list of services, they're like, well, how do we do this? You know what I'm saying? And everyone in the office is either dealing with patients, they're dealing with billing, or they have like one assistant who's just kind of helping everybody out. Now that assistant can go through and say, well, we can add this to the website, and they don't have to know code. They don't have to even be a copywriter. They can go onto ChatGPT and say, okay, so I'm updating the company's website. We have a WordPress website, and we need to build a new page for Botox for medical reasons. First of all, you can have it list reasons how Botox can be explained for those who need it for pain management or headaches, things like that. So you can get the content for it. Then you say, okay, let's build a WordPress page with these talking points. Bam, gets created. The person doing it, they're like, I don't know how to write that kind of stuff. That's not my expertise. I'm here to help. I have energy. I assist. I didn't go to school for this. ChatGPT allows that person to understand how to communicate with new customers, how to understand Botox, how to understand WordPress, so they can actually, or even if you're using something like a HubSpot or whatever that solution is, ChatGPT is going to understand it. And so when they're like, I don't even know where to begin to upload this or add a page or copy it, I don't even know. ChatGPT can give them the specific instructions, even the code. And so now all of a sudden, they can now offer this new service, where before you might have to hire a web designer, pay like $1,000 to get a page added to your website. Now it can be done this afternoon. It can be really nice. And now your employee is more empowered. They can now do more and can serve and can help the company progress along further. But just being able to add the web page, and now you can add more services. So the doctor's like, hey, this is a good idea. How are we going to do it? No need to get a consultant to come add the page. You can have someone in-house do it. So, and even emails. That's another thing. When there's been plenty of times when I'm engaging with people, and I'm like, I need to send an email to this person. And as a matter of fact, I sent the email to someone yesterday, and he responded like, was this generated with AI? I'm like, as a matter of fact, it was. But the difference is I went through and I gave it things to say, things that are important, topics I wanted to cover, the tone, the length. And whether you are an individual trying to set that, or from a corporate standpoint, when you set the settings of the ChatGPT profile in there, you can set tone for creating emails or social media. The boss says I got to make a post about adding Botox to our services. ChatGPT, generate a LinkedIn post, a Facebook post, and a MySpace post. But ChatGPT understands that and says, okay, we understand the LinkedIn is going to be, business and have a business tone about maybe getting through the day and, not wanting to end the day early. Create hashtags to go with that and then load it. Then you say, all right, cool. Now I need Facebook or even Twitter. So Facebook will have a completely different tone. And that tone, ChatGPT can create that for you, paste it, and now you have it. So once again, communications across the board, even speaking to people. Okay, I got to call someone and say something. What do I say? Creating scripts for your employees. It could be sales scripts, collection scripts, anything. You can create these things in ChatGPT. Don't say, hey guys, go do this and figure out the best way. Department manager, I need a script for these people, my team to call. You can even put the list of companies and the contacts. I need a script so that when they call, they're introducing our new Botox service. So you can now create that right there in ChatGPT. So the communications is really empowering for any organization, especially if you have a website and you haven't updated it in a year or two or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10. You can go through, take all the content, put it in ChatGPT. Like say you take one page, not the whole website. You take one page, put it in ChatGPT. You say, listen, here's our website for our pain management services. We want to keep this, remove these two, but add Botox to the page. And I want to add a 5 benefits of Botox and an FAQ on Botox for pain management. Go. And so what it will do is it'll take the existing content that you want to keep, remove the things that you said you don't want to, that you no longer have, like say, extra aspirin or whatever. We no longer want to say that, but we do want to add in this place and add this additional information on Botox, why you should get Botox. And you know what? Let's put a call to action at the end that has our phone number and a link to email us. Communications simplified. And so this would allow you to empower somebody within your organization to go through and do that for you guys. And now it gets done. So no longer having to have outdated websites. You can have newsletters, all these different types of things ChatGPT can do. And you can control your corporate messaging. Thought process and guidance. This is really important. I've talked a little bit about this, and I said when I'm contacting organizations that I either have not dealt with or I'm trying to work through an idea, one of the things ChatGPT can do is really help you understand an idea. And to give an example of that, as I'm approaching this South American hotel, so I'm putting in the ChatGPT, I want to offer this particular service. This is what they do. How should I go about doing this? And is it going to matter to them? Is it going to help them benefit in any way? So these are different conversations that I can go back and forth with ChatGPT. So it's not just like hey, can I recommend AI? It's like, well, what are ways that the concierge can provide a deeper level of service to a single father with 2 children traveling? And they say, you can either recommend this here or you can provide different services. Well, that's cool, but can you show me something that can give them like an adventure or you go back to it and say, that's nice for adventure, but then the father says he also wants to teach the children something. Okay, great. Well, maybe we can give him some questionnaires he can keep in his room or, put in the room so when they arrive, you have something for the kids to prepare them what they're about to get into. You have a cheat sheet for the dad, so wherever you go, kind of already understands. Well, what else can we do to make the father feel comfortable traveling for the first time by himself with 2 kids? And so it's the kind of thing where the concierge can now address these different scenarios where by default, this is not their expertise. But when you're providing a service and you want someone to come back to your hotel and see this as a safe place, I want to go to anywhere they are because I know that they are really good at helping me understand how to go out with my kids when I'm in a new place. So to have ChatGPT guide the concierge on guiding the guests is one idea of like going through an idea. Another one would be a decision framework, and this is really important because when you're trying to make a decision on something, and I've actually done this several times when I want to decide on if I should maybe take on a solution or maybe it could be a systematic approach. ChatGPT can conjure up all types of expertise and help identify things that you either may not even, for one, probably not even thinking about, but you wouldn't even know how to look at. And so again, I'm trying to approach the hotel and say, hey, so I want to approach them with adding AI, but what potential issues might they have with this? Or what would the adoption challenges might be? Or how do I help them understand the benefits of doing this? And so ChatGPT can help you through that process. So where normally you might be like, all right, you guys need a meeting. How are we going to figure this out? Now you got everyone sitting in the conference room, everyone's spitballing. Some people don't care. Like, it's not my job. I got my own issues. Now you can empower an employee to sit there and say, we are this. We want to get this thing done. How do we get it done? Like, that's just a very fundamental way of approaching the idea of working through stuff. Or again, if you want to say, I want to take a Six Sigma approach to this particular project. How would I do that? I heard Six Sigma is good, but I'm not really that familiar with it. So what would I do? It will guide you. Acting as a Six Sigma expert and black belt, I think that's kind of what they call themselves. I will guide you through this. So ChatGPT can make your employee come across like an expert in something that they don't typically do. So that guidance and even helping them understand, because then it can go from the way to do it to then giving them content to do it, all part of the process. And then last but not least, probably one of the ones that made me actually use ChatGPT, aside from the fact that it can help me understand things, was the fact that this thing can be a workhorse. I give the analogy of it's like a genie in a bottle that you can say do as much as you want, and it will just go, 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 go. Now, the issue is it's not always going to be the best content, and it may get a little distracted and go off the rails every once in a while. However, ChatGPT, I wrote a book using ChatGPT a few months ago. It started off as being an ebook to cover a topic to be part of a marketing campaign. But then as I got into it, man, I was like, it was helping me understand things. I was like, well, let's explain that to the reader, and let's create a section on that. And instead of me having to go through and say, all right, so, when talking to customers, we want to make sure we acknowledge them, that we're nice, and we address all their issues. Now I say, I need you to create 1,000 words on how to address an upset customer and how employees should handle it. You can have it generate the policies, the feedback, the responses, but you can do stuff like brainstorm 25 responses to, I don't want that. I mean, this is great for salespeople, for rejections, how to handle rejection, how to deflect rejection. First, you conjure up a sales expert on negotiations. Matter of fact, as I conjured this one up in South America, it brought someone up for international negotiations. I was like, I wouldn't have even thought about doing that. So you can say, bring up someone who understands negotiations and how to address rejection. So your salespeople, when they call, hey, do you want to buy a product? The customer says, no, I'm not interested. When you say not interested, well, do you know you create those responses and you can create 25, 50 of them. So now the salespeople who are customer service or whomever are able to reference these different responses quickly. And instead of having to rely on them to remember and training, now you can pre-populate, you can provide them with responses that are driven by management, corporate goals, objectives, and the overall message. So again, that workhorse and providing all of this content for the employees in whatever capacity it may be. Again, website. We need to add 25 pages to a website. Then you want to do the whole website again. Most of you are probably thinking I'm either going to put in a bunch of weekends and evenings, or I'm going to hire somebody. And we all know the hiring people means, and no offense to those who get hired, but when you're trying to get something done and you say, okay, send it off to the consultant, they come back in 2 weeks. You spend a few days, evaluating it. Then you send back your feedback, and then they say, okay, we'll get back to you in a week. And now you're like 30 days out from having this thing which ChatGPT can help produce all of these 25 pages within, realistically, probably 2 days. And yeah, you definitely got to get your sales managers in this, Andy. I know as you guys are if you're still talking about the print company, understanding how do you talk to a particular vendor who wants to say accomplish a goal. How can we recommend this to them? What are new approaches? And then be able to have the sales managers go back to their salespeople and say, recommend this to the client or something along those lines. But again, even when you're producing the content or you need to create a PDF, you need to create a white paper, you go get your talking points. You can even have ChatGPT build your talking points and then say, okay, now I need to create a PDF, a white paper, a banner, whatever. It can do these things. It's the workhorse. It gets it done. You can hit limitations if you hit, I think it's 50 requests within an hour. But other than that, it will do it. And if I were doing 25 pages, realistically, it'd probably take about 2 or 3 days because you want to spend the time to make sure each one is right. And that's just simple. But you don't just say, hey, ChatGPT, give me 25 pages. That is not the way to do that. We'll get into that in another lesson. But once again, just using ChatGPT as a workhorse is super key. So, I've covered a lot today. I want to wrap it up because we only have a couple more minutes left. First of all, I want to thank you, everybody, for attending and sticking around. Andy, Mike, Jeff, those of you who commented, I'm sure there are others who will be playing it later. If you have any of these questions on any of this stuff, you can always get in touch with me. But what you need to do is just start to understand your needs and start to ask those questions and contact me for a consultation. First consultation is free. We just have a conversation, talk about what your kind of needs are, and then we'll take it from there. But if you're thinking about doing something, contact me and we'll do. I'll prepare a consultation for you. Plus, we also have self-assessments and checklists to help you get through a lot of these steps. If any of those things interest you, message me because I have used ChatGPT to create checklists, FAQs, and templates for you guys. And once again, that's the kind of thing that you guys can do as a business. You can ask someone, hey, we need to guide our clients from here to there. Let's go create some white papers, some checklists, and some how-tos for our users. So there's that, and then also there's custom AI solutions, which we can get into later. Thanks, Andy. One of the things that we've been doing is building custom chatbots, which can incorporate various APIs. And I want to get into APIs a lot more, but didn't really have time to today. But to build your own chatbot that can tie into Google so you can get relevant searches. It could be different APIs from say Microsoft, so you can actually have the do something in Word for you. There's different ways you can build custom LLMs, which are learning language models, and chatbots. Again, we'll get into those another time, but today was just by introducing you guys. So key takeaways, You can have your optimized ChatGPT profiles, like I said, for making things more efficient for employees, API integration, so you can have things working for you, employee learning, on-demand expertise, improved communications across the company, uh, guidance, helping your employees get through topics that they're not familiar with, and workhorse assistance. It can do a lot, believe me. So thank you guys for attending. Once again, my name is Michael Bowers. I put my cell phone up on the screen. I don't normally do that, but you guys can email me, you can call me, you can text me, you can send me a message here on LinkedIn, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. For right now, I want to say thank you guys for attending. I hope you found it useful. And if you have any questions, forgive me, I'm trying to bring this back up here. If you guys have any questions or any thoughts or any feedback, you can always send me a direct message, give me a call, send me a text, and we can take it from there. If you want to schedule a consultation, we can do that. The first one is free. We can discuss these issues. Other than that, thank you guys. Thank you for the feedback in the chat. And if you have anybody who's looking to get anything done with AI or implement ChatGPTs or Claude or Bard or any of those, or building their own LLMs, we can help. My team and I, bunch of folks, we can make things happen. So thank you for your time. This has been 10 ways to implement ChatGPT into your workplace today. My name is Michael Bowers. Enjoy the rest of your day. Should be lunchtime, so hopefully you ate during this, but if not, enjoy your lunch. Thank you guys.